the game, cause see the boxing voice.
Aaron Cantu, the boxing voice, here with Mark Kriegel from ESPN. Mark, we saw a big heavyweight fight this last weekend, Wilder and Ortiz. Wilder showed so much heart in that fight. How did you see that fight?
Oh, I had it Wilder by TKO in 11, so it came 10.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty happy about it. But I've never understood the presumption against Wilder. I mean, here's an American heavyweight with power, with an interesting frame. Everyone's always been waiting for him to lose. I've been waiting for him to win. I think that, I guess you can say it legitimizes him in the public mind. It certainly sets up the Joshua fight. It gives him a prestigious win. I thought he was challenged, but I've always thought the guy was an interesting, talented fighter. We spent so much time dwelling on his flaws, and you know, you watch him fight, you can see his flaws, but I don't think there's been enough time spent on what he can do, which is, you know, he can crack.
He's special. He's got power, man. And
he has the kind of power, like, you know, he hits you, you pretty much stay hit.
Yeah, and that's special. You don't see that, you know. His power is devastating. But Mark,
it's also very, very long, and you saw in that fight how difficult it was. He can make it for opponents.
And he controlled the range, and he kept Ortiz at a distance where he gave him the power, and he couldn't take it. And he caught him where he was tired too, which was crazy to see after Wilder had been hurt in the 7th.
I covered his title fight against Stavern, the first one, and I was impressed with that, because a guy who's used to knocking people out, especially at heavyweight, the first time it doesn't happen, you wonder, oh, how's the guy going to deal with it? Because a fighter like Wilder was so accustomed to getting guys out early. I thought that he dealt with not knocking someone out very well. The opposite of, say, Tyson was not good adjusting to his power leaving him.
Yeah, he couldn't go 12 rounds and win a decision. He would
panic, right. What I saw in Wilder was a guy who doesn't panic when he doesn't knock the guy out. And I don't think that people have talked enough about that.
So the composure, it was really what it is. He has great composure. Do you feel like, Mark, his disposition as far as, you know, historically, being that he hasn't got that unified fight that he's been asking for the last few years, do you think that messes with his legacy in a historical perspective? His disposition, meaning that Joshua's got the bigger following, he's controlling the money, he's the one basically who's going to say when the fight happens.
Look, he believes in his ability, and he's been outspoken. What I don't think there hasn't been enough of in the conversation about Deontay Wilder. This is a guy who's lost basically 2 years to cheaters, Povetkin, and now Ortiz. You know, he's lost a lot of time. The one thing you don't get back are those years in your prime. So he's been a title holder for what, like 3 years now? Yeah. And he's lost a lot of time.
Defended it 7 times.
Yeah. But I understand why he would be so pissed off. And he has a right to be, because again, the one thing you do not get back are those years in your prime.
So it sounds to me, Mark, like you're on the side of, you know, giving him his credit, giving him his, you know, as a heavyweight champion, the win over Ortiz. He should get even more credit, considering Ortiz was a PED user at one point in his career.
Well, I don't know if he should get more credit or less. The fight is the fight. I mean, look, he took him out in 10 rounds, and he took out a formidable heavyweight. Let's go on. Let's make the Joshua fight. Let's see what happens. I think it'll be very good for boxing.
Mark, you don't have to give your pick, but what are the keys to a Joshua Wilder fight, and how would you advise Wilder if Joshua came out and tried to box a technical fight against Wilder?
Remember one thing: Wilder is longer and taller, so he can. I mean, if he's smart, he'll establish the distance, and he can touch him. He can touch Joshua from places that Joshua should not be able to touch him. So, you know, he has to use his jab. He has to stay disciplined and be a very good fight. They're both excellent fighters.
Wow. So the range, the distance is going to be key in that fight. Switching topics.
No, there's two things. There's two things. I'm taking nothing away from Joshua, but I think that there were two things that Wilder has you can't take away. One is length. The other is power. And even when he doesn't look great, he hits you with punches. Some of them look like slaps, and they knock you out. You can't take that away from him.
So I asked you that question because I feel like the consensus would be people would think that Joshua would try to come out and box him for 12
Right.
rounds. I mean, that wouldn't be that would be a smart game plan for Joshua. So if that happens, Wilder's gonna have some boxing. You know, he's gonna have to find a way to land that 1-2. He's got, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, look, he wasn't undisciplined in this past fight against Ortiz. He waited. I mean, if you look at the early rounds, he's not undisciplined. I'm not diminishing anything Ortiz did. He was pretty good in the beginning too, but eventually he couldn't stand up to Wilder's power.
Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and click on the notifications right here, this little bell, so you can get those emails every time we go live. Peace.
Ain't no other sight in the game, 'cause see the box